A couple of things here. Let me start off with, I think the obvious topic that's going on now is the coronavirus and how sports will likely play an important role here. And it's a scary time because it's the great unknown. It's no surprise that societal issues often play out in a very visible way in the sports world. And in a very literal way, there are large public gatherings, and now authorities will monitor those gatherings quickly. And then you've got, in a month's time, we're going to have a Final Four, 3 weeks from now. Final Four and championship game, and you'll have 70,000 people. Or will we? There's a symbolism at play here. You may not live in an area directly affected by the virus yet, or you may not see a lot of this day to day, any differences in your life. But athletes performing in an empty stadium could bring the image home to millions. You're already seeing this in Italy with soccer matches that are played with no fans in the stands. There's a report that came out in Santa Clara, San Jose, California. The San Jose Sharks NCAA women's basketball tournament at Stanford, an MLS game. They're in doubt because what they're looking at is a ban of all large gatherings of at least 1,000 people for the rest of the month in response to this coronavirus. Right now, we're, a country that we're trying to figure out how we're able to take action. What risk do we take? Sports is certainly not the priority, but it's part of the fabric of our lives. Sports brought us back together after 9/11. And for many, the games will go on, but let's just hope the case for the foreseeable future is that friends and loved ones remain safe when it comes to this. We're smart about this. And I don't look at a league and say, boy, they're being overly cautious. You got to be smart about this. And I think we're going to get to a point, just my feeling, that we're going to have sporting events with no fans. I don't see this getting better. I see this getting worse. And you could still have those games on TV. LeBron came out and was very flippant and I think misspoke when he said, hey, if there's no fans there, I'm not performing. Well, there's fans watching on TV. It's, we gather for a sporting event. It's strange how we can have these players playing against one another, leaning on each other, sweating on each other, and we're not thinking about that. But then, hey, don't put your hand to your face, to civilians. So I think we have to be aware, conscious of how sports will look here in the next couple of weeks. And that will be the Final Four and the championship game with March Madness. And bringing these fans together, neutral sites, I know it's going to hurt some of these cities that depend on tourism. But, for the time being, this isn't just about the sporting event, the game itself. It's about life and death and people getting sick. The number of cases here in the United States, it's just starting. I had a friend who is actually in Vietnam, and yesterday went into a bar. They took his temperature before he went into the bar. So if he had a fever, he wasn't getting into the bar. I mean, granted, that's in Vietnam and, what's happened overseas. But I think you're going to see a lot more of this here in the United States. They're limiting the media availability for athletes going into the locker room. That's fine. I mean, that's not a big deal because they've set aside these areas that you can interview, and they have press conferences, it feels like, before and after every game. But I think we're inching along there. But I do think that NBA, the NHL, soccer, baseball, that, they're going to be at the forefront of this. I don't count on the NCAA doing something, as, it takes them a while. And we've asked for Mark Emmert, the president of the NCAA, to come on so we could at least discuss this, but haven't heard back from them, which is no surprise. But I don't know if the NCAA is going to be that proactive and say, hey, no fans are going to be at these tournament games, or no fans are going to be at the Final Four. I think it'll take the NBA saying no fans are going to be at games, or, if it's baseball or whatever it might be, some other entity is going to have to be at the forefront. And then I think the NCAA will react to that. But scary time, and you can't help but, tune into the news. And I know you tune into this show as a diversion, but this does affect sports, and that's why I'm talking about it today. I'm not here to scare anybody, alarm anybody. This is just the reality of where, the society that we're living in right now. It's a great unknown. Great unknown. The fact that there are American citizens that were on a cruise ship that couldn't even dock. They couldn't even get off the cruise ship. And you see the videos around the country. Italy is scary. It's not a ghost town. It's a ghost country. You got 14 million people quarantined. And I don't know, like classes are canceled at schools. You have to Skype, I guess, to take the class there. Like there's things that are happening. And I know you look at it and you might go, it's not a big deal. We're the United States. We always figure this out. Well, in this case, we may not have the answer. I hope we do. I expect we will. But right now, I have doubts. And I think we all should. But there's nothing wrong with having taken a precautionary measure here or two. Washing your hands, doing the, trying to eliminate, who you come in contact with, how often you come in contact with people. I understand those things. But I don't look at people and say you're overreacting. And certainly what's happening in Washington State, I saw where Pearl Jam said that they're not going to be touring. They just canceled their tour coming up this summer. I think there's going to be more events like that. Coachella and South by Southwest canceled. How can you cancel those, but then you're not going to cancel the Final Four? These are questions that are coming up, and somebody's going to have to answer it. And I don't know if we'll have an answer one way or another by the time we roll around with March Madness. And the reason why I say that, that's the one big sporting event that we have coming up where you're going to have 60, 70,000 in Atlanta for the Final Four. And do you want to go? Even I went to a spin class on Saturday, and it was noticeably empty because you're in a class, it's confined, and people get nervous. And I understand that. And you're going to see this, I think, at gyms when you go. It's just starting.
Wrong. The amazing thing about Todd is Todd has a great jump shot, and he could have shot like 40% in the AUAA, but he takes nothing but hooks, which he cannot hit. Yeah, he's got like a beautiful jump shot that he never takes.
Charles, good morning. How are you?
I'm great, brother. How you doing?
I'm doing okay. Where do you think we're headed with the coronavirus when it comes to canceling games or games without fans?
Well, I'm not sure where we're at. I hope we don't get to that point, to be honest with you. My question would be, if those fans don't come to the game, are they just going to stay in the house forever? Are they going to go to work? Are they going to go to dinner? Like, just because they don't come to NBA games or sporting events, are we assuming they're just going to stay in the house for the rest of their life?
Yeah, it's a great unknown, though.
I know, but that's the thing that's interesting about this whole debate. Like, okay, they don't come to NBA games. They don't come to college games. But I think the majority of those people going to still go to work or go out in the world. So they still going to have the virus circulating. I think we just got to have some common sense. I mean, like I say, if they don't come to the games, are they going to be, like I say, are they just going to stay at home for the rest of their life?
But I think these leagues I think we're going to have games without fans coming up. I think my gut feeling, and then I wonder about March Madness and the Final Four. The fact that they're already thinking about canceling the Olympics or postponing the Olympics,
Well, they shouldn't cancel the Olympics. They should move the Olympics to the United States because some people, Dan, that's their whole life, the Olympics. And it wouldn't be fair to those people who've been training for basically the last 4 years. They should move it to the United States. We already got all the stadiums. Most of those countries build new stadiums and stuff that becomes an eyesore in history if you go back and look at what things. The United States, we can do L.A., we can do Chicago, we can do New York. We already got all the stadiums built. But there's people who whole life revolves around the Olympics. And I just don't think it would be fair to cancel. Like, even when we boycotted the Olympics one time, that really wasn't fair to a lot of people who, like I say, the Olympics are a really big deal to certain people.
Talking to Charles Barkley, Hall of Famer, Turner Sports NBA analyst. Where do you stand on the MVP race right now? Is it a race that's over?
Not over. LeBron is gaining, but Giannis got the lead in the clubhouse. You know what's interesting? LeBron has played great. But Dan, can I ask you a question?
All right.
Who was the leading scorer against the Bucks Friday night for the Lakers, and the leading scorer for the Lakers Sunday against the Clippers?
Anthony Davis.
Okay, just checking. You would not know that by all these asses on television. Hey, LeBron's been great. LeBron's been great. But I was like, wait a minute. I know LeBron's been great. And I understand there's that Kobe narrative, LeBron playing for the Lakers. You know, everybody want to be sentimental, and that's understandable. But from day one this year, Giannis has been the best player in the world. They were on pace to win 70 games, and LeBron plays with Anthony Davis. That's a big deal. And it's interesting. I hear some of these fools and clowns and jackasses get on TV and say, well, Giannis plays in the weaker Eastern Conference. I mean, you mean like LeBron when he won all his MVPs, and he played with loaded teams: Bosh, Dwayne Wade, Kevin Love,
Kyrie.
and Kyrie. So I'm curious. See, you can frame the narrative how you want to, Dan, but I just don't think it'll be fair. Giannis has been the best player from day one. He doesn't play with Anthony Davis. LeBron's been amazing, but I understand all these guys. They want it. They're like, okay, LeBron's playing great at 35. They act like he's 100, and say, dude, they act like he's 35. I'm like, 35? Give me a break. But I just hope that people use their common sense.
Yeah, but we love a storyline. The media loves a storyline. They wrote this.
You're correct. But you don't get to create your storyline. Your storyline is Giannis is going to, like I say, before he got hurt, they were going to come really close to 70 games. Really close. He's playing with Chris Middleton, who's an all-star. LeBron's playing with Anthony Davis, who's probably one of the top 5 players in the world. And then, like I say, they say, well, Giannis plays in the East. I'm like, LeBron, when y'all were bragging all those years he made it to the finals, he was playing in the East. So, like you say, you're right. The media wants to change the narrative and make it what it is. But in just my opinion, Giannis has been the best player from day one in the NBA this year.
I saw where you're going to auction off a lot of your memorabilia. Why now?
Yeah, I got it's just, I was talking to one of my mentors, Billy Cunningham, and he was going to sell his memorabilia because, your kids don't want that crap. And first of all, I don't want to be 70 years old having people, hey, let me show you my MVP trophy. I mean, I don't want to be one of those old guys. That happened a long time ago. And my hometown needs some help. I was down visiting my friends in the last couple of weeks, and my side of town is not great. And I think that I got an autograph deal with Panini, and the guy said he can get a lot of money for my MVP trophy, my gold medals. But my daughter, I asked her, because she's the most important thing, I said, do you want this stuff? She says, I'll take a gold medal, and you can auction off the rest. And I got a lot of good stuff. I got a flag, a United States flag, signed by everybody on the Dream Team that I stole from Barcelona. It's one of the coolest things. It was laying around. And I grabbed it, and I got everybody to sign it. It's actually on the wall in my house. I got a lot of really good stuff. And then I don't need that stuff. It's sitting around the house. It's actually around my mother and grandmother's house. They both have passed away. And like I said, it's going to be great for my hometown because it needs some work.
What can I buy?
Dan, you can't afford anything probably that I got.
Okay. I'm just curious if you had something, like I got the Danettes too that we can kind of pull our money together and I could buy something.
Dan, you know what? I apologize. You know what? You probably are loaded. As long as you've been in the television business, you probably you are loaded. Because you know what? You probably, and I'm giving you a compliment, you're in the conversation for probably the longest person who's been on television on major networks. I'm trying to think who's in the conversation with you. I mean, you might have you've had one of the greatest careers ever, but between you being on other networks and having your own thing now, you've had one of the longest careers ever.
Well, thank you.
No, I mean that's incredible.
I'm kind of.
How about your Dayton Flyers?
They look pretty good. I wish that they weren't getting this much recognition. That makes me nervous. They're a little too hot right now.
Well, I hope that the young kid Obi wins the Player of the Year. I hope Anthony Grant wins the National Coach of the Year because they've been great.
Yeah.
I've been studying them for the last couple of months, man. They got a shot. There's no great team. There's probably 20 really good teams. It's up for grabs. I think Kansas will probably be the favorite, but they're not a strong favorite because Dayton, Gonzaga, Baylor. I thought Baylor might be the best team, but they've lost 3 out of 4. But it's this. I think, like I say, this is going to be the best without the coronavirus in the conversation. This could be the best Final Four NCAA tournament ever because of all the upsets.
Now, you've had a great career and a long career and 2 Hall of Fame careers as a player and a broadcaster, but I was sorry to hear that Draymond Green is going to take your job. I don't know how soon that's going to happen, but is that this year or next? When does Draymond Green, because he's not going to be in the playoffs this year, but is your job safe?
My job is safe. Dan, Draymond Green he's a nice guy. I like Draymond. And he's a good player. But you know what he is? He's like the guy in the boy band who's the least important member. And he think the crowd is like cheering for him. He doesn't realize he's standing next to Justin Timberlake. Yeah, he's the least famous person in the boy band, and he thinks he's a star.
So he's Joey. He's Joey Fatone.
I'm not going to talk about Joey. I know Joey.
Okay, Lance Bass. He's Lance Bass.
Stop it, man. We're not going to insult him about it. But he's like in the boy band, who's lucky to be in the boy band, and like he think all the girls are screaming for him. And, no, they're screaming for Justin Timberlake. You're just in the band. Enjoy being in the band because you're never going to have any hit singles. But he's a nice guy. I like messing with him. I do. I like messing with him. But first of all, he don't have a face for TV. He's got a face for radio, so he's not going to get my TV gig.
Would you trade your career for his career?
No, my career is what it is. I was a great player. I didn't win the championship. But there's a lot of guys who didn't win the championship are much better than some of these guys who get championship rings. Man, my career speaks for itself. I didn't win it. I always find it fascinating when people want to try to shoot you down. They say you didn't win a championship. It is a team game. And it's a team game, but also some of these guys who got rings, they were just on the team. They were bus riders. They wasn't bus drivers.
And it does come up. It feels like that's when somebody goes scoreboard on you when they go, yeah, but you never won a championship. And
well, because they act like you're playing poker or something, and when they're it's like when they're like, I got nothing else to say, but you didn't win the championship. I'm like, okay, I got that. What else do you have? It's like they act like we're playing tennis. It's like, you got no championship. That's game, set, and match. I'm like, okay, I get it. I didn't win the championship. Is that the only thing you got? I always laugh because I'm like, yeah, okay. I think everybody know I didn't win the championship. Is that your final point? Do you have any more points? And they don't have any more points because, like I say, man, I think everybody know I was a hell of a player. I didn't win a championship, but nobody thinks Draymond is better than me or Karl Malone or Patrick Ewing or Elgin Baylor. Nobody thinks that who's got any common sense. But I don't hate on Draymond. He's a good little player, and he's a nice guy.
When are you going to?
I told you though, he's in the boy band. He thinks he's Justin Timberlake, and he's not.
When are you going to start selling off your sports memorabilia? Do we have anything to promote here of where people can find out more information on this?
No, you know what, Dan? I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll let you know because I'm in New York now. I got to do Colbert tonight.
Oh, look at you.
Then March Madness start Sunday. And so I'm crazy for the next month. And then I go right into the NBA playoffs. So nothing's going to happen till right after the NBA playoffs. And what I'll do is, Dan, because you've been great to me all these years, I'll come on your show when we get everything set up and announce where people can go and bid on this stuff.
That'd be great. We had Christian Laettner on last year, and he admitted to stealing stuff from you during the Dream Team.
Well, we were all stealing from each other because I got some Michael Jordan stuff. I got a Michael Jordan practice jersey, a warm up. I got a Magic Johnson warm up. I was stealing like it was every game. I was stealing stuff. That's the stuff that I'm gonna auction off. But I stole a Michael Jordan practice jersey, a warm up, and I got a Magic also. So a lot of stuff gonna come up. Them guys been looking for since 1992.
Magic's going to be bidding on his own warm-ups.
Yeah. You know what I should do? I should try to sell it to them first.
I don't know if Jordan would be interested in buying, but Magic might want it.
Yeah. But no, it's going to be great, man.
That's good.
Really excited. I'm really excited about that.
Have fun with March Madness. We'll catch up with you again, and always appreciate you joining us.
All right, my brother, you take care of yourself. You guys take care.
That's Charles Barkley. We'll be on Colbert coming up tonight. We'll take a break. Play of the day is coming up next. Settle on a poll question as well, and a couple of stats of the day coming your way right after this.
Water on my sweatshirt.
Ah, jeez. Why are you people so hard?
The lid wasn't closed tight enough, so it looks like I'm drooling all over myself. Try.
Is Ben Cohen
He
with
sure
us?
is.
Ben Cohen, he's a big-time sports reporter, Wall Street Journal. Ben, you might want to bail on this. You might not want to be affiliated with this. It's guilt by association. But welcome to the program. Author of The Hot Hand, available wherever books are sold. We'll talk about that coming up. I noticed you've written a little bit about the coronavirus. Where do you think the tipping point is going to be sports-wise with the coronavirus?
I think it's going to be the July 4th hot dog eating contest, personally. No, I do think it's coming. I mean, to me, this whole thing is a bit like watching the Titanic approach the iceberg in slow motion. Like, we know what's going to happen. We know it's going to be very painful, and yet people on the deck haven't really wrapped their minds around it yet, I don't think. I mean, the idea of playing games in empty stadiums was unrealistic not too long ago, but it's already become reality in Asia and Europe, and there's nothing really about being in the U.S. that inoculates us from this. We seem to be a few weeks behind Asia and Europe, I think, in terms of the spread of this virus, and so it would not really surprise me in the least to see extreme measures being enforced here pretty soon. I think there's a real possibility for severe disruptions at like the busiest time of the calendar for American sports.
I mentioned that you wrote the book, The Hot Hand. It's available online wherever books are sold. And I was fascinated by this because it was a couple of decades ago. I did a story at ESPN. It was called Getting Blue, or Getting in the Zone, as athletes call it, Getting Blue or In the Zone. And I remember talking to Dennis Eckersley, and I said, what's that feeling like? And he said, I can't describe it. He goes, I don't want to talk about it because I'll talk myself out of it. But you've written a book about really getting in the zone here, the hot hand. So explain to the audience what the initiative or the premise was behind writing this.
Yeah, so, there's really no singular definition of the hot hand, but I like to think of it as when success leads to more success. And in basketball, for example, it's always been studied in basketball. And it's when you make one shot in a row and then another, and you feel like you're going to make your next shot, right? You can't miss. You're in the zone. You're on fire. But what makes this really interesting is that a few decades ago, there was this classic study about the hot hand. And what made it a classic was the counterintuitive conclusion that there is no such thing as the hot hand. It doesn't exist. It's simply seeing patterns in randomness. It was this cognitive bias, this easily digestible example of seeing patterns in randomness. And, once that study came out, something kind of amazing happened, which is that nobody believed it. The athletes themselves, none of us, because we'd all felt the hot hand. We'd seen the hot hand for ourselves. Now, some of this has changed in recent years. There is some evidence to suggest that our intuition actually may have been right all along. But to me, like, the reason I was so intrigued by this was that it was a story that has genius scholars and Nobel Prize winners and NBA superstars, and it was really about something that we all thought to be true, only to be told that it wasn't, only to realize that maybe it actually was. And that was just irresistible to me as a story.
Like, whenever we bring these up, and then Dan looks around the room, he's like, which of the four Dan am I going to rip now? 98% of the time it's Todd, but in that 2% where it's going to be me, that's really painful. Don't ever.
Wonder what I could get if I traded one of you guys.
So just floated us out there?
Yeah, but I'm trying to think what I need. Paulie, if I was going to use you...
Trade bait?
Yeah, trade bait. Like, what could I get?
Seaton's younger. That you always want that younger guy. He's younger than me. I feel
versatile.
Yeah, versatile. He's got a better jumper. I feel good about what I do, but I don't know how much I bring back to you.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. See, it feels like Fritzy would be the guy. He's in rarefied air is one of the better bookers in the business.
He's not medically cleared, though.
Yeah, I know. Tua Tagovailoa is in better shape than Fritzy is. I think you could be of value to somebody who needs to, book like Daniel Jeremiah or something like that.
Nice.
Maybe something like that.
Daniel Jeremiah's not as easy to book as you think.
Very
busy guy.
Yeah. Dan Bickley, trying to get him on.
The elusive Dan Bickley.
Is that 10:20 or 10:45? I was trying to get a clear picture.
Mountain time, Pacific. We got.
I know.
Is that 10:20 we'd prefer? Or do we want to do something early? I know we don't want to back up guests back to back.
I would never trade you guys.
And you have no intention of trading
I
us?
have no intention.
No plans?
You guys have not been informed yet if you will not be back with the Dan Patrick Show. No. The fact that the guy who was getting breakfast for us 3 weeks ago is now doing graphics for the TV portion of the show.
Do we want that knowledge out there?
All right, it's already out there.
You supply unprecedented opportunities. That's not how the business works. You have to go years and years to get these kind of gigs.
Tyler, the creator, his job is to basically walk the big German's dog and clean up after the dog. Now he's monitoring the chat room, and he's the backup cameraman. I can't afford to get rid of anybody here.
If you were going to franchise one.
Oh, man.
Franchise tag somebody.
Franchise tag. I'd probably go the big German right now. He might be the most valuable guy in the building.
Yeah.
Because I said, hey, can you direct? Yeah, it can't be that hard. I go, I think it is. And so the big German brings his dog in there with Dylan, who was getting breakfast for us, and that's our control. That's our uncontrolled room. Oh, man. Beauty. Yes, Todd.
I just love it. What places on it for a national radio TV show can you climb the ladder that quickly? In this business, that's just about impossible.
My trade value, considering I've spent the last 12 plus years branding myself as a drunken pothead, probably next to nothing, unless it's a very specific group of people. Other than that,
my trade value used to be a lot better, but with bronchitis and a intestinal flare-up recently, I've dropped a good amount. So I have to kind of build that back up.
My trade value? You got to look at these trades objectively. 7 or 8 years ago, now I got one foot in Vermont. I can't lie to you. You're getting my last 3 years if you trade for me. I'm trying to be forthcoming to anyone who's going to put an offer and be fair to Dan. 3 years from now, I'm going to be putting my feet up in Vermont. So, like Al Michaels, I'm not comparing myself to Al Michaels anyway, but it might be 3 great years. But see ya.
Todd, what'd you learn today?
Charles Barkley says Draymond Green's like the guy in the boy band who thinks girls are screaming for him, but they're actually yelling at Justin Timberlake next to him.
What about you, McLovin?
Charles Barkley still practice jerseys from Michael Jordan, Magic Johnson during the Dream Team year.
Seton O'Connor.
Yeah, the Chuck Wagon with a solid boy band breakdown.
Yeah, he did well. Paulie?
Barkley, comfortable ripping Draymond Green, not comfortable ripping Joey Fatone.
What did I learn, Todd?
That you'd rather be a horse racing analyst than a bracketologist.
Yeah, I don't want to be a bracketologist. If you run a small business like we do, you can use LegalZoom right now, like we did, to set up for success, we hope. Go to LegalZoom.com today. Make sure you use the promo code Patrick and the box at checkout. LegalZoom, where life meets legal. Talk to you tomorrow. Thank you.